A game I just finished playing recently was Lady Layton, another game in the Professor Layton series, the Layton universe, depends how you phrase it. I like it. I can't stress that enough that I like it. I don't love it. It's it's a beautiful looking game, especially since it's mobile, though it will be coming to 3DS eventually, I believe sometime this fall. Catriel is a beautiful character. Like, her design is so amazing. But in the game, playing the game, I have some problems with it. So, I actually created a little list. So, I'll talk about them. First, the DLC. Each costume is $2 each. That's egregious and awful. They're beautiful. They're extremely well made. Level 5, I give you a lot of credit for making them, but they're just way too expensive. Even if you buy the bundle that they're in, which is like $17, that's basically buying another copy of Lady Layton. Whew. That's asking for way too much money. This should have been included in the package. The game itself was already pretty expensive, especially for a mobile game. Like, for a mobile game, dishing out $17 is crazy. So I already jumped through that hoop for you. Why couldn't you just give me costumes? Another point I have is the story itself. I have so many questions after playing this game. Why is there a talking dog? That never gets explained. Cheryl can talk to Lady Layton, Catriel, and he can talk to Ernest. But why? No one else can understand what he says. They all just hear him bark. And that was never explained. What makes them special? Why does he talk? I don't get it. Another question is, where's Professor Layton? I'm pretty sure he's going on his own adventures or something, but that's never explained. And this is one of the big questions we had, which was brought up by the game. In the first cutscene, Catriel's having some nightmare about her father just disappearing into the fog. And I would have liked to know what happened to him. He's brought up several times. Some characters ask for him. And while some could see it as paying homage to the series it's based on, it's really questions that are never answered. And that's what this game should have done. It should have answered at least that question. And it didn't. And when you have, 12 cases to work on this question, and you don't answer that, I don't know what you're doing. They do answer questions that no one cared about. Or at least I didn't care about. One, Ernest and his background. I'm going to try not to spoil that much, but Ernest is not that interesting of a character. He's so one-dimensional, and I find him so hard to care about sometimes. Most of the time. All the time. He plays so hard second fiddle to Catriel. He almost just is a waste of time. Where the 7 dragons got their wealth. So the 7 dragons are the 7 wealthiest people in London, and you do 7 cases, I believe, one for each of them, and this is to build up to show what kind of empire they have and how wealthy they are. But they're not that interesting, except the mayor, kinda, but her story arc is kinda lame. It's the most interesting of the lame. in my opinion. But they do explain where they got their wealth, and I was never curious about that. I just said, oh, they're rich because they're rich. I wasn't really interested in why, but they answered it, so I wish they spent that time answering the bigger questions I had, like where's Professor Layton, and why is he not in the story, and what kind of issues did Catriel and her father have, but that was never addressed, and these questions were, and I feel like they wasted their time on this. The clue system. So at first I thought the clue system was creative. It almost, as you go through the game, as you go through the case, each case, you collect these little pieces of a picture and you put them together, and once you've got all the pieces, you make a nice picture and you solve the case because all the clues just come together. But it never evolves. It starts at 6 pieces and it ends at 6 pieces. And once you do a few cases, you begin to realize the rhythm which they give you clues. You realized this area, once I solve the main puzzle of it, is gonna give me a clue. It's gonna give you a clue. It's how it is. And that clue it's too cheap. It doesn't build, it doesn't get harder. Why is it still at 6 by the end of the game? That's what we started on. It should be more clues, it should be more complex picture, but it isn't. It's very simple. It's like they took the first one case and just copy paste it. It's very lazy. When I think of building on a clue system, I kind of think of the Ace Attorney series, where you get evidence. Let's say on the first case you get like 1 page of evidence, and by the last case you'll be managing like 4 or 5 pages of evidence to solve this case. That's building on a system. This is not at all. And I feel that this game tried to take certain aspects of the Professor Layton series, walking around places, solving puzzles, and the Layton Brothers series, which was a mobile game, and you did solve mysteries, and I did enjoy it. It wasn't really a Professor Layton game because it didn't have the puzzles, and this game tried to unite that puzzle solving aspect and that mystery solving aspect into Lady Layton. However, I don't feel like it worked in this case because the mysteries themselves aren't that dramatic. Some of them are very, very lame. Some missing footage from a film, even though it was an important scene, it's not. So what? Someone feels lonely and there's a ghost in the house. Okay, whatever. Very run-of-the-mill stuff. One of the benefits of the Professor Layton series was, no matter all the little mysteries you had, there was always a bigger mystery. Like in the background footage, the Curious Village, there's always these little mysteries being balanced around, but in the end, you're trying to figure out the golden apple. Where's the golden apple? I'm not going to spoil this game at all, but that was the question we had in mind as we solve Professor Layton games. This game does not have bigger questions. Actually, it does. Where's Professor Layton? Why is he in this game? Why isn't he with his daughter? What is the issue of that? However, they never resolve that. It's just a bad mix of 2 good series, Professor Layton and Layton Brothers, which was never evolved into a series, but 2, let's just say, good games, that just ideas that never really worked that well in Lady Layton. Overall, Lady Layton is alright. In the puzzle aspect, it's good, it's reliable, but on the story aspect, it's very weak. I'd say it's probably the weakest Layton series game in terms of story. It's not puzzles, which is good. However, I can't strongly recommend it. I can recommend it as a puzzle, as something you just, let's say you're on the tee, you want to solve some puzzles, you don't really care about the story. Yeah, it's fun to solve puzzles. It has good puzzles, but it was a letdown for a Layton game, and I hope maybe they make another one and improve on it, because Lady Layton has so much potential, and if they're trying to make this a series by baiting you with the Professor Layton question, they didn't give enough of a taste in this game. They didn't give you a taste of the answer. Instead, in this game, they provided no answers. They just provide the questions. And perhaps they'll answer this through a series, but when looking at this game on its own, it's very weak.